In an effort to gain voters and maintain power, the Democratic Party that I once loved has joined forces with the extremist left.
Joining me now is Brandon Straka. He is the leader of the Walkaway campaign. Brandon, thanks for being here with us today. Brandon, what is the Walkaway campaign?
Well, the Walkaway campaign is a social movement. It's encouraging Democrats and liberals on the left to walk away from the left. And where you go is your choice, but it's basically encouraging people to really pay attention to what's going on in the Democrat Party and what's happening on the left, to walk away from the hostility, the name calling, the calls for violence, the complete disconnect from any sort of civil discourse that's happening in our country. Walk away from it and at least come to the center where we can find civility.
Brandon, and let's go back to 2016. You were a huge Hillary Clinton supporter. In fact, I heard that you even cried when she lost the election. So take us to 2017 when one day you woke up and realized that, you know what? I don't know why I was crying, and now I'm actually a Trump supporter.
Well, I can assure you it didn't happen that quickly. But what it was, a friend of mine reached out to me because I was going on social media constantly on doing these long rants, and yes, of course, at times crying. But these long rants, asking the people of middle America and conservatives, like, how could you do this? How could you vote for a racist? How could you vote for somebody who supports the KKK? Somebody who, would stand before a cheering crowd and mock a person's disability. And this person who's known me my whole life reached out to me in a very delicate way and said, just please watch this. Please just watch this. And what it was a YouTube video which had a compilation of footage of Donald Trump going back to even the 1990s, showing him doing that exact same voice and that exact same gesture every time he was imitating somebody who had been caught in a lie or who was doing something shady or who was groveling. And it became very clear to me that he actually didn't mock that person's disability at all. Yes, the person was disabled, but what he was really doing was making fun of the fact that this man had lied and was trying to cover up that lie.
This guy, I don't know what I said. I don't remember. He's going like, I don't remember. Maybe that's what I said. They said, Senator Cruz, what do you think of waterboarding? I don't want to talk about it. He didn't want to talk about water. And they said to him, what do you think about ISIS? Oh, ISIS is very tough. That would be work. And you know what? Get me out of here.
Well, a light bulb went off for me at this point. I realized that the media was taking moments out of context from his campaign and applying a narrative to them, spinning them, trying to create this story that they had already made up, that he was a racist, a bigot. It was clear to me that they were trying to not only malign him, but shame anybody who would support him or vote for him. That's what began sort of the journey for me of doing research, which led me to where I am now, which I consider myself a conservative.
This video, you were talking about the disabled reporter, and you're right. I mean, the president had been doing that. Trump had been doing that for years, and they do pluck little pieces here and there. And so my question to you is, you've been a Democrat all these years. Were you very politically active during the Obama era?
I was politically active basically as sort of like a one-issue voter. I was very active on the issue of gay rights and gay marriage. And just to clarify for anybody watching, that hasn't changed. I still support marriage equality. I still support the gay community. That will never change. But, I wasn't so much politically active in other aspects. So it was after I had what, is considered to be a red pill moment where I had my eyes opened, I began doing my own research and really watching, for the first time, really listening to conservatives when I was watching debates on a whole host of different issues, from economy to immigration, everything in between. And what I was finding was, wow, the conservative side actually makes much, much more sense than the liberal Democrat side. But I wasn't open to receiving that before. I wasn't open to listening to it.
And I think we both would agree that the Democratic Party has changed significantly over the past 10 years. I used to work for Democrats. I worked on a Democrat U.S. Senate campaign. I had helped with a couple other campaigns for Democrats. I walked away a long time ago. I was always an independent, kind of skeptical about politicians in general. But I had voted for Democrats before. I've obviously voted for conservatives. So for me, I just saw a huge shift in the party and their values. And today, if the Democratic Party was acting like it is today, 10 years ago, I would have never supported a Democrat. I mean, it is totally crossed the line. We see Congresswoman Maxine Waters calling on her base to basically attack any Trump administration official at restaurants. I mean, she's inciting violence.
If you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
Well, Stephanie, it's actually worse than that. I mean, what she actually said was anybody who supports him, and she even said, if you see them in a parking lot or a gas station, circle around them and intimidate them. Now, let's just think about that for just a second. Do you really think that somebody who at this point, these people on the left have gotten to a point where they feel so entitled to behave any way in which they choose based off of the way that they feel? These people are not acting within clear boundaries of good common sense or civility or decency. Do you really think that if a circle of people gather around somebody, that they're going to make wise choices about where to draw the line in terms of intimidating and harassing people? Of course, this is an incredibly dangerous thing that she said, or that she's proposing that people do. This is very, very dangerous.
Yeah, and when I said attack, I didn't mean like physically attack. She just said, go out there and intimidate them, let them hear you. But some people might take that the wrong way, and that might be enough to push somebody over the edge. And we've seen that with the congressional baseball shooting with Scalise. We see this where now restaurants are kicking out Trump supporters. We see an adult man ripping off a teenager's hat at the Whataburger.
Yes.
I mean, this has gotten totally out of control. And you have a personal story. You were looking to buy camera equipment at a place in New York, and let our viewers know what happened to you.
Well, I went into a camera store in New York City, and I was going in to make a pretty significant purchase of a lot of equipment. And when I got to the salesperson, I told him what I needed, and he said to me, "Are you intending to use this equipment for alt-right purposes?" And it took me aback, and I said, "Alt-right purposes?" And he said to me, "Well, aren't you with the Walkaway campaign?" And I said, "Yes, I am." And he said to me, "Well, I'm sorry, I don't support that. I'm not okay with that, and I can't be okay with selling to you. I'm not going to sell to you."
How does that make you feel?
Well, honestly, it was the first time something like that happened to me, and I now realize that this will happen again in the future, and I'll be more prepared for it. But in that circumstance, my hands started shaking, and I was taken aback. And the thing is, he was a gay man. So this was a gay man denying service to another gay man. And what I said to him was, I said, "Listen, if you can't sell to me, I understand. Okay, cool." But I said, person to person, I would really like the opportunity to talk to you because I don't think you understand what the Walkaway campaign is. And he said to me, "Well, that may be, but I'm not going to sell to you."
And are you ever going to reveal the name of this store? I mean, I'm kind of curious. As an American, I wouldn't want to shop there. I mean, he probably wouldn't sell me camera equipment anyways. But I mean, do you want to tell people who this person was or the name of the shop?
I'll tell you the name of the store. I don't want to reveal the name of the person because honestly, I don't want to see people harassing him, or I don't want to ruin this guy's life. But the name of the store, I will tell you because it's important to verify the story, because there's a lot of people out there who are saying he's making this up. So they're welcome to fact check it. The store is called Adorama on West 18th Street in New York City. That was the store. I don't want to reveal the employee's name because what I ultimately would like to see come out of this situation is a door being opened for conversation and possibly healing. This employee was a gay man, and I think he was afraid of me because he thinks that he considers me to be alt-right, whatever that means. I think a lot of people connect that to modern Nazism, which I absolutely am not. And what could come out of this is the possibility for me to be able to have a conversation with the gay community and say, "Listen, you don't have to be afraid of me because I'm on your side." The Democrats are not, but I am. And, I would like to have that conversation and possibly see some healing come out of this.
And Brandon, you've had obviously a lot of good reaction to the Walkaway campaign. And a lot of people are recording videos. They're hashtagging Walkaway on social media. But you've also had some negative responses and some pretty cruel things said about you on the internet. And I took a couple screenshots of it, and I was absolutely disgusted. I get this type of stuff all the time, especially because I'm bicultural. My mom's from Mexico. She's an immigrant to this country. She came here legally. And so I'm always called a traitor. People hate on me as well. I mean, they just can't handle the fact that I'm bicultural, a millennial, and a woman. So I'm a triple threat. And also, I used to work for Democrats.
Right.
So the Democratic Party sees me as a threat, and so they'll do anything to try to discredit me, which is exactly what they're doing to you right now. This one I saw, it says, I saw you whining about being turned away from a camera store, and I laughed for 10 minutes. Get used to it, you Nazi F, you treasonous. Your treasonous POS fake president's going down, and all you emboldened fools will go crawl back under you where you crawled out of under. That's pretty rude. Another one. Somebody says, your whole effing gimmick is about you being a gay conservative. If you want to tap dance for people that hate you, that's fine, but never in your effing life ever talk over the experiences of people who are negatively impacted by conservatives. Choke. And this other one, somebody posted, says, in the past few days, Facebook and Twitter have become infested with testimonials of weak-minded people, many of whom can claim more than one oppression point, who have decided to walk away from the Democratic Party. What approach should we progressives favor in efforts to prevent any more of our rightful allies from surrendering to Nazism? I mean, so you supported Hillary Clinton in 2016. You decided that you're no longer part of the Democratic Party, and all of a sudden, you're a Nazi.
Yeah, well, isn't it interesting that this is supposed to be the party of empowerment for gay people, for Black people, for racial minorities, for minorities of all kind. And here it's like, if I am choosing to make my own decisions, do my own research, and vote my conscience, that instantly they're tearing me down based off of my sexuality. But that's the first thing that they go for. So it's like, they don't really care about empowering me as a gay person whatsoever, because if they did, they'd say, good for you for making your own, for using your own brain, doing what you want to do based off of doing your own research. They don't like that. There's no empowerment whatsoever.
When President Trump calls the establishment media the enemy of the American people, would you agree with that?
100% I would agree with that. As a gay man, I see how they push the news through the filter of really what scares whatever minority group you may happen to fall into. After his election, it was literally within the first month, I think there were 7 different stories about how he was expected to go into his office and sign an executive order repealing gay rights. None of them ever came true. They were keeping us on this treadmill of fear over and over and over again. One of them was even so ridiculous that they said literally he had pen in hand, ready to sign executive order, and Ivanka came bursting in saying, no, daddy, don't sign it. Don't do this to the gays. It's so beyond absurd. But yes, what they're doing is literally creating false narratives and going out and trying to find sound bites and moments to further the narrative that they've already created. And unfortunately, if you're a minority in America, they are coming after you. They're targeting you, and they're trying to tell you everything through the filter of what scares you.
And who are some of the biggest news people that you looked up to, that you were getting information from, especially during the 2016 campaign cycle?
Well, I was a big Rachel Maddow fan, which I absolutely am not anymore. In general, I loved CNN. I loved MSNBC. I was one of those too who I hate to admit it, but I think it's typical of a lot of people on the left. Kind of like a Facebook news gatherer, the reposting cycle, whether it's from BuzzFeed or, any of these other ridiculous sources. Because I think what happens with a lot of people is it's not even a matter of you going and seeking out news sources that you trust. You're just receiving news from people that you trust, that you think, oh, this friend of mine is smart. He's well informed. He has a good education. He posted this story on Facebook. It must be true. There was a lot of that as well. But Rachel Maddow, Don Lemon, Anderson Cooper, you name it. And it's funny because Rachel Maddow was actually very instrumental in my red pilling. She was the final straw. I haven't told this story to anybody else yet, but I was so far over the hump of, being like, I was literally like on my last legs of liberalism. And Rachel Maddow went on a tweeting frenzy saying, I've got his tax returns. No, really, tune in tonight. I've got his tax returns. And I thought to myself, okay, even despite all the research I've been doing the last few months and the fact that I really feel that I'm starting to see that the Democrats are a scam, that liberalism is a scam, I thought to myself, if I tune into Rachel Maddow tonight and she's got this smoking gun, I'm going to actually be willing to forget everything that I've learned over the last couple of months and get back on the impeach 45 train. Well, I tuned in that night, breathlessly waiting to see what was going to happen. And that woman produced 2 pieces of paper from 2005, which proved that he did, in fact, pay his taxes. And I took my remote control, threw it down on my bed, and I said, I'm done. I am officially done. These people are making this up as they go along. I'm done. I am officially no longer a Democrat. And forget the liberals. I've had it.
Brandon, let me ask you, were you a supporter of Barack Obama?
Yes.
I'm assuming you voted for him twice.
I did.
Okay. And looking back, this is something that I followed closely over the years. And I never voted for Obama, but I also didn't want to see him fail. So I kept a close eye on everything that he was doing. And I saw the echo chamber. I saw the cover-up that the legacy media was doing for him. And especially, you look at the Iran nuke deal or the Paris Accord. This is complicated stuff. And I don't expect everyone to fully know this. Everyone's living their lives. They're busy. It is a lot of work to keep up with what's going on in government. So do you feel like you were possibly lied to by the media when it comes to Barack Obama? And maybe that influence the way that you felt how he was doing as president?
Yes, I completely feel that way. And not only lied to, but I think that there was a ton of omission. After Trump was elected, I actually started contacting, because I really truly wanted to understand what happened. And I started contacting people from the Midwest that I grew up with. And I was like, why did you do this? And a lot of them began to tell me stories about Obama-era regulations, which did a lot of damage to their communities and small businesses, really harmed a lot of people. I didn't know any of it because the news didn't report those things. I had no idea. I was blindsided. So I began to see that though I felt like he was a good president to me or other people, which I've begun to change my mind about, he really wasn't for millions and millions of others. And so, no, I think there's a lot more about his administration than the media ever let anybody know.
And what's your message to the establishment media or legacy media, the people that are going out on TV every single day that I would say are causing hysteria?
Well, I would say, first of all, they're definitely complicit in the hysteria, which has reached levels of more than even hostility at this point, but bordering on violence. And I would encourage them to stop feeding that hysteria because we're about to see some very disastrous results come from it. But in addition to that, I would extremely encourage them to stop talking about the American people and start talking to the American people, because they've really lost connection with them. And which is why my campaign, the Walkaway campaign, #Walkaway campaign on Facebook, has been so successful. Finally, the American people are getting a voice again. They're getting to tell their story and their truth. They're tired of being talked about. They want to be talked to. They want to be heard. And so I would really encourage the media to stop talking about them and start talking to them.
And Brandon, my last question really quickly, what does the Democratic Party represent today?
As far as I can tell, the Democratic Party represents a complete hatred for Donald Trump and a complete lack of acknowledgement for his amazing accomplishments thus far as president. And their new pet project seems to be illegal immigrants. So as far as I can tell, they're the party of illegal immigration and the party of hatred for the president of the United States.
Well, we're going to have to leave it here, Brandon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
#Walkaway.
Walk away.